Hey, Philosophix here, and this is my first video of my new series where I introduce to you games you can use for your lessons. And each video will have, I'll try to narrow it down to one game, and then I'll try and share as much information I can to you about the game, things to be careful of, and lessons that are appropriate, and lessons that aren't very good for this game, that just a lot of stuff that you need to consider with the game. There's a lot to think about that people don't really realize, and I want to kind of cover as much as I can with you. So here we go. Okay, so the first game is the interview game. The interview game is the most fundamental game that you can use as an ALT because it's pretty much usable all the time. And the reason that is because pretty much every lesson you teach is fundamentally the same. And here, let me show you. This is the lesson that I prepared it for. It's a fifth grade lesson. It's what did you do for Christmas? Because Christmas vacation is just the ending. And then it's I ate chicken or I. So basically, a lesson will be a question plus an answer plus some new words to make a variety of answers, something more amusing than just the same answer. And so here we go. I have a ate, I have a played, I got a went to, got made, and this one, of course, you got to teach them. Doesn't have to be food related. Watched, and yeah, that's it. Because these answers are oddly, because usually you'll teach them nouns, right? You'll teach them like vegetables or sport names or animals, but this time it's something that they can extend on their own. So you don't have to actually choose that many. Because normally you teach them new words, it's going to be like 7 to 9 new words, or even up to 12 actually. Or I guess the recommended amount would be 8 to 12 unless the lesson itself is kind of difficult. Like that sentence isn't the easiest, so you could bring it down to like 7 new words. It's up to you. But here, because these are past tense verbs, I made them a little fewer than normal. I think it's just 5. Yeah, 5. And one, two, just something that kids kind of are a little shy about is saying where they went if it isn't like super awesome. And so instead of, choosing a picture of a airplane, which then makes everyone think, oh God, I didn't go anywhere like, super fancy. You could do a train. Trains are everywhere in Japan, and people can go to like one city over, next prefecture over pretty easily with their families just to like visit grandparents or something like that. And even if they just want to say, I went to the convenience store right down there, and like, you can say whatever. Just make sure you iterate. Or at least I like to do that. I know kids get really shy about stuff like that. It's like, oh, I didn't go anywhere exciting. I don't want to share that. Maybe if you give the example first, you say something really boring like, I went to 7-Eleven. Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's a set of verbs I chose. And then the noun, they can put anything they want. They know a lot of words. They know how to say like chicken, cake, and all that, or they know how to say soccer and sports if they're playing something. And then the game. Oh, and something I want to quickly note is that when you write the lesson, I would write it something like this, where if it's a question, always write it in a color that's kind of like neutral, like white or green, or let's see what else we got. Yellow. Yellow's fine too. Okay, because sometimes the answer, if it's neutral like this, you can write it in another neutral color. It doesn't matter. But if it's like, do you like cake or something? And there's two answers, yes, I do, or no, I don't. In Japan, and I'm pretty sure it's just generally true, yes is like blue, no is in like red, like this. And so when you write like you have two answers to choose from, right here you'd write yes, I do in blue, and no, I don't in red. So that's just something to be aware is that the colors you choose matter too. Okay, so moving on, I will first, in the beginning of class, teach all this, and then I'll give them the pieces of paper, right? And the paper this is a very, very simple, basic, like meets a very minimum requirement for a game in terms of the design. I just put it on a table and I'm done. You can obviously put in like designs. You can put in like in between table and the title, you can put a space there and put down like maybe just rewrite the lesson or something. It's just like a visual cue. You can do a lot. You could write here. So, well, first let me say this is something that every kid should get, just one copy of. You'll tell them to bring their own writing utensil. And you'll tell the teacher ahead of time, or you could provide your own. I've done it both ways. Like some English rooms just have a lot of pencils, so as you hand out paper, you also hand out pencils at the same time. I just think it's easier if they bring their own. And a lot of them will have like these things called tanken bags, like these exploration bags, and they have like clipboards on them too. So if you tell them to bring that, then it's easier for them to write. Otherwise, because this is like carpet, they'll like walk around and look for hard surfaces or something. Um, but yeah, so you just need them to go up to each other and interview each other. So, what did you do for Christmas? One person will ask, and then the other person will be like, I ate chicken. So, let's say I ask the question. You write whoever you're asking the question to's name. So let's say I'm interviewing someone named stereotypical Japanese name. Yamada-san, right? Or san for a child. Yes, Yamada-san, child. Okay, so write his name, and then I ask him the question, what did you do for Christmas? He says, I played soccer. So they would write played soccer, but they can tell, if you make cards with the words underneath, they can probably figure it out. They could probably write played, but then maybe they'll have to write it in Japanese. They're not trained to write in English, but some of them like the challenge. So if you leave the words there, they will and give them the option to try. I think that's best. There's a lot of times where I don't even bother, like where it would just be a picture only. But yeah, in this case, it'd be nice. Otherwise, they'll just write in Japanese, sako yatta toka. Like they'll just, something in Japanese. And that's the basic game. This works with any lesson that has a answer, question and an answer, even if it's just a simple like yes I did or no I didn't or yes I do, no I don't. It'll work with anything. There's really very, very little drawback to this game, and the benefits of this game is that every child is basically doing the lesson, right? So some games you do in groups, and the problem with group games, or not all of them, but a lot of them, is that not all the children can get a turn in, or maybe they don't practice it very often. This one, like depending on the number of squares you put down here, they get to practice that many times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And a lot of kids will finish so quickly that they'll draw their own boxes and just continue, and then they'll do it on the back. Tell them like who can finish first or who can finish in this amount of time that's left in class. They'll get pretty excited about that. And this is a simple design, but I learned that my kids don't care. So like I've done interview games where I do like little things all over the place, and they don't care. So yeah, they get the pattern already. It's already pretty much the end of the year. We got 3 months left. They know. But in the beginning, if you want to put something nice and cute or whatever, and just see if your kids like it or not, my kids don't really care. That's up to you. So yeah, that's the interview game. It's good because you really get the lesson in. And the other thing about games, well, focus, come on. There you go. The other problem with games that are like in groups is sometimes the kids are so focused on the game because sometimes it's a little bit more complex than an interview game, because the interview game is very straightforward. Any other game will involve like rules and stuff like that. Those games, sometimes they're more into playing the game or the goal of the game rather than the lesson itself. So even the interview game, like they can somehow play this game and not say it at all. They'll just walk up to each other and just ask the same question in Japanese. Christmas nani atta? And then they'll just answer back in Japanese. So like depending, just imagine like a game this straightforward, if they can cheat. Big group games, if they're not like well planned enough, they'll do the exact same thing. It's much easier for them to like just cheat their way through. So you really have to think a lot about design. And this game is really good because it's also, like it doesn't matter how big the class is. Some games will require a certain number of people, or sometimes there's too many people for the game. This is a good game. The number of people does not matter. Some games, you need like even teams, or you need at least this number of people, or whatnot. There's limitations to certain games. This is just so basic and just so applicable to any game or any lesson you want that I think it's probably the most highly recommended game I have if you run out of things to do. However, as you can see, it is not the funnest game. So I would recommend you don't do this too often, but I do have teachers who Like I have one teacher who likes to, make the lessons herself, just one, but she pretty much plays the interview game every week. And the kids don't actually seem to care that much, but I can tell that sometimes you'll hear like the again. So don't try to repeat games in general actually too many times. It gets a little boring. They'll get used to it too quickly. Yeah. Oh, and just if you're wondering what casual snake is, all the kids will be sitting in, rows and lines and columns, just like this. And they'll all be facing you. And it doesn't matter if it's in a classroom, then classroom even more so, but they're always trained to sit properly in lines and rows. And so this is something I like to do with the alphabet, is have them in a snake-like pattern. So like imagine a snake, weaving through the grass, but in this direction, like, they'll say like something related to the lesson. It usually only works with the alphabet. So like if it starts here, the first child would say A, and then it'll continue on through the alphabet for the next child. So A, B, C, D, and then it moves this way. And I can actually apply this game to like this lesson because in a snake formation, they can just say, I ate chicken, I played soccer, and it's just a good way to get everyone to kind of practice it in a group where they get to hear it repeated over and over and over again. It's like practice, but it's also a game. So what I like to do in my lessons is a lot of times you're going to be asked to do like a warm-up. So you can do a song, you can do some questions in the beginning. How's the weather? What day is it? What's the date? What season is it? What's the time? And that'll kill a decent amount of time. And then you go into your lesson. So like, let's say every class is pretty much the same, 45 minutes. And so the first, 10 minutes is gone to this warm-up crap. And then you have, another 10 to 15 minutes to teach this. So that's like, let's see, 10, 20. So you have 25 minutes left. Then the next, 10 minutes, you'll do a game. So then you have like, no, hold on. The lesson should take 15 minutes. So that would be 10 minutes, 15, 25. You have 20 minutes left. 10 minutes for a game. Last 5 minutes for review, and then you leave 5 minutes to say goodbye at the door or something. You can change it up. I like to change it up. In fact, I almost never do any of this warm-up crap. Sometimes I'll just start immediately into the lesson, so I can play 2 games, because 2 games is so much better, to me anyway. It depends on, the pace of the class and the mood and everything, but 2 games, I think, but like the first game isn't like a serious full-on game that takes a lot of time and all that stuff. Casual Snake, it's like a practice game. They just have to the goal of the first game is to get them all to practice it, because sometimes the real game, you don't actually practice it as much. Sometimes the game itself and the rules just don't allow for a high number of repetition for repeating the sentence and the answer, because the important thing or the goal of the class is by the time they leave the door, they memorized that, and they can't read, so they memorize it, right? So the repetition is so important. And I don't think wasting time for this every single week when you could just play 2 games and help them learn this, I think there's a larger benefit to doing this. Plus, you don't have to do this every week, but you can do it like every month or twice a month, and it's pretty much the same. They'll forget it anyway. So, yeah. That's the interview game. Okay, so that's the first video, interview game. Just something I want to let you know, there are definitely variations to pretty much every game you can think of. It's how I invented a game of my own. That'll be a different video. I call it the castle game. But yeah, you can change the rules to any game. An interview game, all you have to do is have an interview somewhere in there. And that's pretty easy. You just gotta change the rules, make it more fun. It's up to you. Usually, though, when I play the interview game, I'll have them do rock, paper, scissors, janken, and I don't let them say it in Japanese. They'll be like, janken, boy, or something. I'll be like, say 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And they can do that pretty easily. And, it's a little extra English in there. And yeah, but you can change it however you want. There's so many things you could do with the interview game. I'll leave it up to you. Tell me in the comments below if you actually do this game and how often, or like just tell me more about it. I can learn from you guys too. If you're, not, brand new ALT, or if you just have your own ideas and you want an opinion, like, hey, what if I did this? Like, what do you think? And I'll be like, that sucks. No, I'm kidding. But, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I think this might be a problem, or I think that's a good idea because, it addresses some things that, the original game didn't. So, yeah, please leave a comment below. You don't even have to like or subscribe. I'm interested in what your opinions are, so just try to leave a comment. All right, I'll see you guys later. Okay, so bonus footage time. I realized the sixth graders are going to be learning a lesson where I'm also going to do the interview game with them. And so I thought I'd just show you this lesson, another demonstration of which you can use the interview game. The lesson is what's famous in blank, place. What's famous in, and I'm from Chicago. So I'm going to ask what's famous in Chicago. And in the beginning of the lesson, I will briefly tell them what the sentence is and the answer. So for instance, what's famous in Tokyo? Then you just outright say it. So like Tokyo Sky Tree, it's very tall, yeah. So I'm going to teach them these words and the sentence. The sentence is small, easy, and so I'm going to have a supplementary large number of words. And these are kind of fun to learn for the kids is what I've noticed. They like learning adjectives. And so I have a decent number of them. And then I'm going to start off the class with something that you don't really get to do, which is have an opportunity to use the lesson to explain or talk more about where you came from. And so I'm from Chicago, and I can be like, okay, what's famous in Chicago? And kind of give it a little introduction to my city. So I'll be like, the bean. It's very small and cute because it's a freaking bean-shaped mirror. And then, I'll probably say it in Japanese a little bit, just explain what the heck it is. You don't have to. You can obviously show whatever the thing is to your teacher, like the homeroom teacher, and just have them explain it for you. That's fine too. I'll just say it myself. And then I'll be like, what's famous in Chicago? What is it? Lake Michigan. Wow, okay, I forgot. Lake Michigan. It's very beautiful and big. There you go. Next, we have Chicago deep dish pizza. It's very delicious and big. I probably won't say big every single time, but you get what I mean. Okay, then we have the Willis Tower, or Willis, it's a Sears Tower. They just changed the name. And it's very tall. Yeah. And in Willis Tower, you have the glass room elevator. I think it's just a room. Yeah, it's just a room. But it's like a glass room. It's very scary. Yeah. So I'm just using places from where I live to use as many of the words as possible, but I will, of course, in the beginning of the lesson, go through the words a little bit, like maybe just once, be like pretty, and then I'll tell them kirei, delicious, oishii, old, furui, small, chisai, big, oki. I'll just do that real quick, give them a little rundown, but then I'll use them in the actual lesson, and then we'll go over it more thoroughly. This is the Chicago Theater. It's very old. The Chicago Museum of Science and Industry. It's I don't know what it's also old. Yeah, everything's old. Okay. It's got stuff like this. What is that? It's like the rocket ship control module. I didn't put the word cool. I should have been like, it's really cool. I don't know. I just wanted to no, hold on. I think I just wanted to show them the industry thing, but then like just kind of in Japanese, just real quickly, out of like, not so much for the lesson's sake, but just show them how cool it is. Yeah. So it'd be like, yeah, they got stuff like this, and it's something about Disney because kids like Disney. Ooh, anatomical gross body, they like that. Just kind of pique their interest a bit, get them more into the lesson, just show that it can be pretty cool to explain stuff. This is the Chicago River. It's very long, and I don't think I would say beautiful. I'd say pretty. So I wrote pretty for this one. Next, this is the last one, Navy Pier. It's very crowded. And at night, or when they have like, the 4th of July fireworks, it's very pretty or beautiful and crowded. Very, very crowded. And then I just finish it off like that. And, it gives them a more, how do you say, like it will help them visualize like the way you use these sentences. So that's just an idea that I had while I was here. And hopefully that would be a good reference for you guys. And then, of course, after this, I'll have them do the interview game. An interview game, maybe they'll talk about whatever they want. Like go up to your partner and let's see, what's famous in, and then they get to choose, like, what's famous in Tokyo, and the the other person has to be like, Tokyo Tower, and then they'll have to describe it. So they'll write the partner, the answer. Easy. Yep. All right. Now this officially ends my video. There we go. See you guys. Okay, one more thing. So I already talked about the 5th and 6th grade. I might as well just go over what I did for 4th grade. It might be a good reference. So their lesson is, what's something in English? And then the first part is going to be like Japanese or something, or what's it has to be in Japanese. So it's like, if it's cat, the question would be, what's neko in English? And it recommended to me to teach them words first, like that are related to New Year's and holidays in general, because winter vacation just ended and they just went through Christmas and New Year's. However, I decided, screw that, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to use it as a way to review, because I know the first thing kids do is forget everything over long periods of time of no English, especially because it's already only once a week, and I'm going to use it to kind of go over things. So I'm going to play like a Jeopardy game, or what I'm going to do is simply have them break off into teams, take turns, and then I'm going to have these large number of word cards flipped over, and maybe like write a number on each card or something to identify them, because the lesson would require me to say it in Japanese, like, what's neko in English? But instead of doing that, I'll have these cards turned over with numbers written on them, and so the kids will choose which card they want to choose and try and guess in English based on the number. And so it would be, what's number 1 in English? And that way they don't have to say anything in Japanese and kind of ruin the English momentum. And I'll flip the card over and they get to answer. So like this one, if they flipped it over, it'd be like, there's a number 1 here. What's number 1 in English? Flip it over. And then they'll have like a certain amount of time to answer. It's math. Very good. And so going over things that you've already taught. So these are subjects. I got a math, science, PE, English. Not all of them, though. Social study. Wait, hold on. How many is this? Am I supposed to do 6? That's a lot. Anyway, and then we got a classroom objects, desk, pencil, and then like vegetables. And like I got some other categories in here, but just to kind of show you what I mean. And then I, at the very end, have like super hard ones, like this flag is Germany. Like, they learned countries before, and like trick or treat, but I want them to like guess or remember what it's supposed to be. So it's like knock, 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 trick or treat. Yes, very good. Things that are kind of like fun and miscellaneous. It gives a little bit more of an element of surprise, because I'll write the categories down. It'd be like subjects next to what was it? Subjects next to vegetables, next to classroom objects. Then the 4th one will be miscellaneous. Then the 5th category will be difficult. So maybe the difficult ones will be 2 points each, And I'll have these on the board via magnets. And yeah, that's about it. And it's just going to be a very fun way to introduce the kids back to the classroom without giving them a boring lesson about, yes, Oshogatsu is a New Year's Day. Now please remember New Year's Day and all these other long words. And like, I don't want them to do that. I want them to have fun. So let's have a big game show review thing where they can be like, oh, I remember. I want to take into consideration the mood of the children, or at least what I expect will happen. Granted, kids in Japan don't really forget too much because they have school all the time and their vacations are really short, so they're very accustomed to memorizing things, unlike American kids. But yeah, that's what I'm doing for next week at the new school semester, because I only have like half a week left. All right, so now I will officially stop making this video. Goodbye.